Greetings and hello, wonderful scholars. I hope this video finds you well. This is the NLM, a brief guide with examples. We'll be going through essentially what is a slideshow today. My name is Professor Chris and I will be your guide. Before we get started, a quick shout out to Huntington University of Health Sciences' very own Dr. Tammy Puckett. Dr. Puckett put together much of the material that we will be going through today, and she delivered it as a professional development for the staff at HUHS. So kudos to you, Dr. Puckett, and thank you so much for letting us use these materials. Very quickly, a brief overview. This comes from the National Library of Medicine, and NLM is used to kind of codify the way we cite things in the medical world of medicine and physiology, because there are so many different realms of physiology, there's so many different types of medicine, there are different studies, there are different fields. There needs to be a space where they intersect and they can kind of communicate across topics with each other. And just for those of you who are students at HUHS, NLM is the required style, so we will be going through that today to make sure you have what you need. So why do we cite things? First of all, you want to give credit to sources of information. If it didn't come from your brain, it's thievery, so don't do that. You want to give credibility to your work. So if you're not a doctor yet and you did all this research, people might just be like, well, did you just Google it and go to Wikipedia? No, you went and you actually found your sources. Most importantly, though, you want to avoid plagiarism. That is a crime. That is a bad crime. That is against every moral and ethical and legal code on the face of the planet. Please don't do that. No plagiarism. A couple of definitions that we need to go through very quickly. If you look down at the bottom half of the screen, in-text citations. An in-text citation is a brief indicator within the body of a paper that leads the reader to references. HUHS uses Arabic numbers and parentheses to designate sources consecutively as they appear in the paper. This is a numeric sequencing event, so you'll see little numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 going through the paper that will tell you where to go on your reference list. We'll talk about that in just a second. Each citation is a corresponding reference footnote entry that provides the details, such as the author, year, title, etc., of sources so that the reader can locate them. This is extremely important. It's not just enough to have the title and the author. We need to be able to find that source. We need to make sure that people are working on the level, that they are providing the correct sources, that they're giving us the links to the correct places we need to go in order to kind of check everything out. Think of it like a treasure map. You're leaving breadcrumbs with your in-text citations that tells us where to go in the reference list, and your reference list tells us where to go in the world to find that information if we want to learn more, if we need to verify it, if we need to use it for a later study. That's what you're setting us up for right there. So we have this wonderful thing called the NLM Writing Style Guide called Citing Medicine. It is free. It is a downloadable PDF. If you click that link right there, you will see it. And if you notice those parentheses in that little number 1, that is actually going to be linked to our references at the very end. So you're already seeing in-text citations in this particular style of NLM. But please go ahead. That link is live. Click it. Bookmark it. It will save your life. It looks a little scary and complicated when you first get into it, but if you know what you're looking for, you'll be okay. So before we start getting into the examples, now that you have a couple of resources and a little bit of background information, let's get some of these tips under our belt. First of all, this is the one that everyone struggles with. There is no bolding, no italics, and no underlining. When it comes to titles of books and websites and things like that, every other style, such as APA, MLA, they require you to put them in italics. We don't do that. The weird one for everyone is underlines. Underlining throws everyone off because you don't underline URLs. You have to kill that hyperlink. You don't have hyperlinks in your reference list. This makes the file much more versatile. Copying and pasting it, moving it around and things like that actually works a lot better this way. So make sure you go ahead and kill that out. The next one that throws people off, this is kind of a weird one, took me a while to get to. Journal titles should be abbreviated. We're used to writing everything out, but you've got to remember, these are doctors. They write a lot. They write a lot of things. Titles are usually very complicated, very precise, so you need to abbreviate them so your reference page isn't 37 pages long. If you're not sure about the abbreviation, that's okay. Here's another live link for you. Go ahead and click on that, bookmark it. It will save your life. Next, cite what you saw. This is another one that, especially in this digital age, that we have trouble with. So let's say, for example, you have a journal. You saw it in print, but you don't know how to cite it in print, or maybe you physically lost your copy. So you go online, you find the electronic version, so you cite that. That's not what you've used. No sir, no ma'am. Nothing in between. That's not what you use. Make sure you use the medium of what you're looking at. Only what you saw is what you cite. The reason being is because when authors publish things, or when publishers publish things, things get changed. For example, if you have a physical textbook versus an ebook, I can guarantee you that there can be different page numbers, there may be different information, just depending on the medium, the format, and who the publishers are. So make sure you cite what you saw so that you don't accidentally send someone to the wrong location. Next up, this first one, no hanging indentation is required. Many of you have seen this in APA and MLA style formatting, especially in the reference list. You'll see the first line flush to the left, and then every line after that indented to the right. We don't do that with NLM. Instead, you're going to be just having everything flush to the left. Start your reference list on a new page, not just at the bottom of your paper, but on a brand new page. If you press Alt-Enter, that usually will give you a new page automatically. Put you a heading at the top of that. References, cited references, or bibliography are all perfectly acceptable. I advise you, if you're a college student, to please reach out to your professor and see which one they prefer. All three are acceptable under the NLM style, but it's always good to find out what your professor is looking for. For more than 3 authors, use the et al. So it's basically etc. everyone else. The reason being is because some of these papers and journals can have upwards of 15 to 20 authors. You don't want to spend all that time writing those out. Holy cow. Now, this might be in kind of conflict with what we had said earlier about making sure you give credit where credit is due. Don't worry. Those other authors that don't get explicitly listed, they're still getting their credit, because when someone goes back to that page, they're going to see all of those authors, and all of them get notified when their work is being cited. So you're okay. It's not a problem. Just make sure you use et al. So that we can save some space, and if you're going to be printing this paper out, it'll save some trees, because, like I said, these articles get long. Last but not least, using PubMed journal abbreviations. This is another way to kind of check to make sure that journals are abbreviated correctly. Definitely check on the NLM catalog. It's available here at this link. Third link for you to click and bookmark and keep for yourself to make sure that you can use it later. And then at the end of this particular presentation in our references, you can see our second reference there in that numerical sequence. We will have a quick guide for you that you can use just in case you need it. It's a copy of Huntington University's of Health Sciences Quick Guide. So remember that. It came from HUHS. Now, okay, most boring presentation ever. I apologize. I have zero artistic skill. Bear with me. We're going to look at 3 examples: books, journals, and web pages. The first one we're looking at here is a book example. We have our authors here. Notice that there are 3 of them: Eyre, Lang, and Morris. We have their last name, no commas, last name, their initials, comma. The comma only pops up in between each author's name. There's no and sign, nothing. Last name, initials, comma. Period to indicate that you're done with that. Then you're going to go on to your book title: Informed Decisions, The Complete Book of Cancer Diagnosis, Treatment, and Recovery, period. Notice that it is not italicized. Notice that it is not underlined. It is not bold. In fact, every first letter after the first word is not capitalized. This is to help save time and space. You want to make sure you have your edition there. We have second edition. The reason being is because, especially in the field of medicine, books get updated frequently, as we have countless universities across the United States and the world working tirelessly to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information. Make sure that you do the same. Get that edition number in there so we know which edition you're working with. And then we have the location of the publication. In this case, it's Atlanta. We have the publisher, American Cancer Society. We have the year it was published, circa 2002. And then this is something that is a little bit different from the rest of the free world. We have the pagination. How many pages are in this book? You can see this one's a bit of a behemoth. It's 768 pages. That's totally different from like APA or MLA. In those places, you would see them where they have the page numbers here. If you use the page numbers, like let's say it was for a chapter or something, you would only have the page numbers of that particular section. But in this case, an NLM, when you're citing the whole book, you put how many pages are in that monster. So that way we'll know exactly where we're looking. This also keeps fidelity on your part. So if it has 768 pages, and let's say if you were not doing the numerical sequencing, you were doing the author and page number, you put page 2000. Excuse you, that's not right. So this helps kind of maintain fidelity and make sure that you have everything matching and lined up. Next up, we have journals. Sometimes you'll hear journals referred to as articles. Journals are peer-reviewed. They're invaluable. You will love them. They're usually a little bit more up-to-date than books because books take a lot longer to publish than articles do typically, or journals in this case. But there are some similarities. This actually came from the Citing Medicine book that I pulled earlier, courtesy of Citing Medicine 2nd edition, as you can see. They chose not to use the et al. In this case because there are 4 authors. I can guarantee you if there's a 5th author, you would see an et al. Right here. But once again, we have the authors, Petitti, DB, Crooks, Buckwalter, Chu, all separated by commas. There are no commas within the names. You have the last name, the first initials. You finish up your authors with a period. Next, you have the name of the article that we're citing here, blood pressure levels before dementia, period. Again, there are no quotes around it. There are no italics, no underline, nothing. It's just this, the title. And you don't capitalize the first letter of each word after the first one. Period. Next to the name of the publication, Arch Neurology. All right, so if you want to know what that is, you would need to look it up. Make sure that you found the correct name in one of those links that we sent you earlier. Again, but it's not italicized. That's where people struggle. Period. The year, the month, the issue, the volume, and then you have the page numbers here. And this actually says 112 through 116. They didn't need to put 1-1 again because it was the exact same thing as the first part. If it was page 126, it would say 112-26. So just keep that in mind. Last but not least, we have a website example. This can get a little confusing for a lot of people because not all websites are the same. So be careful about where you are. Just make sure that you understand the anatomy of a website and you should be okay. So first of all, we have the name of the website itself. This is for the entire website, not a page on a website. Please double check the Citing Medicine 2nd edition for the how to cite specific pages with specific pages within an entire website. We have the name of the whole website here. Complementary/integrative medicine. And then it has the median. A lot of people are confused as to why we put the word internet there. You've probably seen this in MLA fashion where they put web. The reason that they put the medium here is because there can be a lot of similarities between this and say, let me go back one, a journal example. And it can get confusing, especially on a longer reference list. So this kind of helps eliminate a little bit of that confusion. We have the place of publication, Houston. We have the publisher, the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. So that's the people that came up with this. It's kind of like the author in this case. We also have about when it was created, circa 2007. Next up, we have when it was cited. When did you use it? When was it accessed? So you can see this was accessed on February 21st, 2007. The reason you have both the day it was, or the year it was made, and the actual citation date is because websites change. So if you don't put that down, let's say you pull something from this website and you don't tell me when you accessed it, and I go and they've changed something since then I have no way of knowing off the bat without having to do some serious investigating on my part the fidelity of your research. So make sure you put in the day that you actually pulled that research. And then you have available from and the URL. Notice again that URL is not hyperlinked. It is not underlined. It is not bolded. It simply is what it is, period. So make sure you move your hyperlinks. Very quickly, here are references. If you would like to check them out, these will help you out. As you can see, we also have the quick guide for citing a National Library of Medicine style. It's on the internet. You can see that link right there. You can always screenshot that, grab it, highlight it, whatever you need to do. Make sure you run with it. So once again, here are just a couple of quick examples. I would like to challenge you to pause this video and see if you can dissect them the way that we did before. All right, but otherwise, moving right on. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Best of luck in your studies and all of your research. Take care and goodbye.